the Pacific Ocean. It's about 5 weeks that we are traveling in the islands of this wonderful ocean. And everywhere we have been immersed in an ocean of love instead of being immersed in the Pacific Ocean. And now that we have come to Los Angeles, I see that it's the same thing. Maybe it's because your shores are on the Pacific Ocean. But whatever it is, we are deeply, deeply moved by your affection, your love, and your consideration. Believe me, it is with a prayer in my heart, and I know the same prayer is in the heart of Violette, that we may offer you tonight something that may be useful to you, that may be perhaps of some guidance based on the quotations that we have brought with us, or the stories that we have brought with us about the importance of Baha'i service, the significance of Baha'i service in a spirit of love and of dedication to the cause. When I was in Haifa the last time, it was in 1957, and I was on pilgrimage. And on the last day of my pilgrimage, Shoghi Effendi told me that was in 1957, I was coming as a pioneer from Africa. He told me I should visit the islands of the Pacific. And for 45 years I have not been able to do this. You can realize with what sense of relief I stand here before you, realizing that the trip has taken place, and we were just a few nights ago in Hawaii and meeting the friends there, and that was our last stop in the Pacific Ocean. And here in the United States, this is our only stop in this wonderful country. And in a few days, we will be on our way to Haifa, inshallah. Now, coming to Los Angeles is a great privilege for us. It is the city which is the resting place, which has the resting place of the first believer in the United States. And as Shoghi Effendi has clearly confirmed, the first believer in the entire Western world, Mr. Thornton Chase. And in this city, his remains have been buried, and this is going to be always, for all time, a source of blessing to this community. A city which has been visited by Abdul Baha himself. His footsteps have blessed this wonderful city. A state, California, from which a Californian Baha'i arose in the days of Abdul Baha, Mr. Haidan, and in response to the tablets of the Divine Plan, went to Australia and became the spiritual conqueror of that continent. Particularly when we are thinking about Los Angeles, we remember that on the tablets of the Divine Plan, Los Angeles has been mentioned 4 times. Now these are immortal tablets, and 4 times Abdul Baha refers to your city. In one of these passages, he says that Los Angeles community is under the guiding eye of the bounty of Baha'u'llah. And the friends are assisted by legions of angels. And referring to his meetings in California, particularly he mentions Los Angeles in that connection, and refers to the meetings of the Baha'is in these three cities, namely San Francisco, Oakland, and Los Angeles. He says, whenever their faces cross my memory, immediately infinite happiness is realized. Shoghi Effendi, in a letter dated February 1948, names 5 cities in the United States, and one of them is Los Angeles. And he calls on these cities, Baha'is of these cities, to issue forth unhesitatingly, determinedly, and sacrifice every interest and I can't read my own handwriting. I hope when you become 83 years old you won't be like me. And assume positions in the forefront of the struggle, referring to the struggle of the faith with its antagonists and enemies worldwide. So he had this hope that the Baha'is of Los Angeles would issue forth and carry out these momentous tasks in defense of the faith, in promotion of its interests, and in the propagation of its message. Now, beyond Los Angeles, when we look at the whole country, the United States, may I take a few minutes to make you feel comfortable, confident about the future, and grateful to Abdul Baha and to Shoghi Effendi for the trust that they had in the American Baha'i community and the glorious future that they foresaw for this great land. Abdul Baha refers to the United States, as you all very well know, the land wherein the splendors of his light shall be revealed, the land where the mysteries of his faith shall be unveiled. Shoghi Effendi, as you know, clearly points out in his letters that it will be the United States which will usher in universal peace throughout the globe. This is a great task, a great destiny that Shoghi Effendi foresaw for this wonderful country. To the Baha'is, to the American Baha'is, he refers to them as the spiritual descendants of the Dawnbreakers, a title that he has not given to any other community. The custodians and chief trustees of Abdul Baha's divine plan. A community invested with primacy by the Master. A dearly loved, richly endowed, unflinchingly resolute community, a generously hearted, valiant, and dedicated community. The American believers are referred to as the outstanding protagonists of his cause, the stout-hearted defenders of the integrity and rights of his faith, the champion builders of his administrative order, the standard bearers of the crusaders of his cause, the torch bearers of its embryonic civilization. What more do you want? This is unique in the literature of our faith. It is absolutely unprecedented for the head of our faith to use such terms in describing the potentialities, the destinies of a community so invested by the Lord with a wonderful future, a glorious future. Believe me, the list that I just read to you is not complete. It is maybe 1/10, if not less, than what Shoghi Effendi has written about the American Baha'i. I just picked these titles at random as I was thinking about my talk tonight. Many, many more passages and phrases and descriptions and praises of this wonderful community. And I am sure that some of our scholars who are here or elsewhere will make a compilation. Maybe there is a compilation already of these wonderful statements made by the beloved Guardian. Now, this venerable community, I think, has to look at itself in the year 2002 and decide whether it has possibilities of improvement or not. I think this is something that only you could judge. The institutions, not only in Los Angeles, but throughout the country, would only judge. Not 2 visitors or 3 visitors who have just been for 24 hours in this country. Speaking in general terms, I would like to say that this is my humble opinion. I see 3 signs in any community which would show that that community is healthy, that it has spiritual strength, that it is on its way to achieve its destiny. These 3 signs, in my view, are the following. The degree of participation of the members of the community in the work of that community, in terms of attending meetings, in terms of making contributions to the fund, in terms of attending feasts, and so on. This is, I think, every National Assembly could sit down. This is a matter of statistics. Try and determine what is the degree of participation. Obviously, as we read in the writings and the letters of the House of Justice, the ideal is universal participation. Whatever number of Baha'is we have in Los Angeles or throughout the country, for everybody to be engaged, involved in some aspect of Baha'i work. That is the idea. But we know that this is not possible. But we have to see where we are. Where are we? What is the present percentage? Now, I offer you just a little thought. It may be right, it may be wrong. I think that at least 50% is a good number at this time in the development of the faith. For at least 50% of the community to become involved in some aspect of the work of the community. The second sign, in my view, is the degree to which there is love and unity among the believers. Whether we truly love each other, whether we truly work together harmoniously, whether we are ready to forgive. And as Shoghi Effendi says, to forgive and to forget the faults of others. To look at the good qualities of others, in order that this love and unity may prevail. On the community level, as well as on the level of the institutions. There is a letter from Shoghi Effendi in which he says that if the members of an institution, he's talking about an elected institution in this particular case, are united, the believers sense it, feel it, and they become united themselves. Because that's an example for them. So, to the degree that our members of our institutions are willing and able to forgive their faults, their imperfections, and work together as brothers and sisters of one family, to that extent, will it be correct to say that that community has reached the stage of health, spiritual health? The third, I think, sign is the growth of the community. Whether the community is growing in numbers, whether the teaching work is moving forward visibly, because when it becomes visible to the Baha'is that the community is growing, it is a source of encouragement for them. Even those who have drifted away, when they hear that there are new people continuously entering the cause of Bahá'í, then they will be encouraged. They don't need even anybody to go and knock on their door and say, why don't you come into 19-day feasts? They will come by themselves. They will be inspired. They will be stimulated. So the growth of the faith, I think, and the love and unity of the friends are two very important components that we have to bear in mind. And this will automatically lead to greater participation in the work of the faith. Now, with this in mind, I hope I'm not going to sadden you, because that is not my intention. But I want us to be realistic. I would like to invite you to look at the hard facts. In 1940, some pilgrims were in Haifa, and they asked Shoghi Effendi what his view was about the degree of receptivity of the people in the modernized world of the West, such as Europe, North America, and so on. He said 2%. 2% of the population. Now, we have many letters from Shoghi Effendi to say that sufferings, wars, convulsions and commotions and conflicts increase the spiritual capacity and receptivity of the people. This is clearly stated by Shoghi Effendi. Now, let's compare 1940 and now. Over 60 years have passed. We've had many wars, many sufferings. When this question was put to Shoghi Effendi, it was just the second year of the Second World War. And see how many wars have taken place. How many problems have we faced as a society, humanity, and are facing now. And this should increase the 2%. Let us leave this point now. Let's come to statistics as I understand them, as I have double-checked them with members of the local spiritual assembly of Los Angeles. I understand that in Los Angeles, the general population is 3,700,000. I also understand that the number of Baha'is in the Los Angeles area is 1,817, including children. Now, I have asked those who work with computers to let me know what percentage this represents. And 2-3 people work on this today. And it seems that the answer is correct. It's confirmed. It is 0.05%. I asked about the participation of Baha'is. The figures were not 100% available. I asked about new enrollments every year in this city. And I was told it is between, the average is between 50 and 60 every year. In other words, out of 1,817, 50 to 60, let us take 55 new enrollments, which is 3%. In other words, every 100 Baha'is have been successful in bringing, on an average, 3 people into the cause every year. Now, if we recall the advice of Abdul Baha, he says that every believer should make every effort to bring one soul into the cause every year. He does not say that young Baha'is are exempt. He does not say that children are exempt. He does not say a person who does not know the language is exempt. He does not say that an old person like me is exempt. No one is exempt. I've been a Baha'i ever since I was 15 years old. Now, those of you who are good in mathematics, tell me, I'm 83 years old and deduct 15, I think you get 68. as I'm talking to you, I have a heart attack of some kind and collapse here and create a problem for the members of the local spiritual assembly and members of the National Assembly here. If I go to the next world, and if Abdul Baha sees me from a distance, I think the first question he's going to ask, Ali, where are and who are your 68 you Baha'is that you call Effendi? I really believe so. And I think every one of us should think along these lines. Because in the hidden words we are told that death shall come to us unheralded, unannounced. No one can foresee, no one can tell how long he is going to live or when he is going to pass away. We don't know this. We should be prepared for our end. Someone asked Abdul Baha, how shall I acquire spirituality? How shall I live the Baha'i way of life? Abdul Baha answered, you must have a thirst for spirituality. How shall I acquire a thirst for spirituality? Read the Baha'i, read the writings of Baha'u'llah. We are told in the Kitab al-Aqdas to read the writings of Baha'u'llah in the morning and in the evening, twice a day. And second thing, think about your end. Reflect about your end. Because we are all accountable to our Creator, to Baha'u'llah. In one of his letters, Shoghi Effendi explains that the teaching work is going through three stages. First is individual conversion, one at a time entering the cause of God. And this will continue to, I think, to the end of the dispensation. While this is going on, then the second stage is entry by troops. Entry by troops. The third stage is mass conversion. He defines mass conversion as a sudden thousand-fold increase in the numerical strength of the Baha'i community. That means if there are 10 Baha'is in a locality, when mass conversion stage arrives and comes in, the 10 will become suddenly 10,000. Now this has to do with his own mysterious workings of his will, of his major plan, of his providence. We don't have to worry about it. That's his job, and he will take care of it. I know that when we have in a fireside, we have about 2 or 3 declarations of faith. We say we've had mass conversion. This is our excitement. This is fine. Okay, now, so I just want to speak about stage 2. Why is stage 2 important for us? Because the House of Justice has written that we are now in stage 2. We are now in the stage of entry by troops. While individual conversion is going on, entry by troops should also continue, come in and be sustained. The first time that Baha'u'llah mentioned this term, entry by troops, is when he was writing to Nasruddin Shah, the Shah of Iran. And in that tablet he says, soon will God open for his cause, new portals, new doors, and the troops will enter into his cause. This is in the tablet, as I said, of Baha'u'llah himself, foreseeing that stage in the development of his cause. And the House of Justice has said, now this is the time. In fact, when you read the writings of Shoghi Effendi, you see that he was so pleased that already in his own lifetime, in very few countries of the world, this entry by troops process had already begun. He was excited about it. He was grateful about it. He wrote to those Baha'is in glowing terms, appreciating what they were doing. So now, what is this entry by troops? I think it is more something like, it is not 1,000-fold increase, but it's not also 50 to 60 Baha'is per year in a community such as Los Angeles. It's not that. Can't be that. Please think with me. Please tell me if I'm wrong. Write in your card that, Ali, you are wrong. I'll be very grateful to reconsider my thinking. Entry by troops to me means that during the week, news will come to a local spiritual assembly that in this sector of Los Angeles, another sector of Los Angeles, and so on and so forth, 5 people, 10 people, 15 people, 30 people have accepted the faith. This is the meaning of it. It hasn't happened. But this is the period. For 6 years, excuse me to raise my voice, for 6 years the House of Justice has been telling the Baha'i world that we are entering and have entered the period of entry by troops. Now let us think about our individual responsibilities. About the teaching work. We read the writings of Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah abolishes professional clergy. And he tells the individual Baha'i to be unrestrained as the wind in the propagation of his faith. And if he cannot do it himself, to deputize someone on his behalf. Abdul Baha tells us how to teach, how important it is to use love in teaching, wisdom, patience, moderation. These are the things that we find in the tablets of Abdul Baha about the teaching work. Then he comes and says, every individual, every believer should make every effort to bring one soul into the cause of God every year. This is from Allah. Now is the time of Shoghi Effendi, the ministry of Shoghi Effendi. One of the first things he explains, he says, you must have a fireside in your home every 19 days. We should ask ourselves, do I have a fireside? I know some firesides that are held for the last 30, 40 years every week in this Los Angeles. I know that, in the home of the Nelsons. And I know how many people became Baha'is through these firesides. And I think they are continuing with this practice. But do we all do this? Do we have? They have it every week. It's not every 19 days is a minimum. If you have it every day, the better. Minimum every 19 days. It's to show hospitality to a non-believer. Even if it is one believer, in my view, it is a fireside. You are showing hospitality. You are inviting somebody to your home showing him love, teaching him the cause with humility, with conviction, with wisdom. Okay, so another thing is, we found in the writings of Shoghi Effendi is that we should endeavor to mention the faith to non-Baha'is once every day, to drop a hint about Baha'u'llah or the Baha'i teachings once every day. The other thing we find in the writings of Shoghi Effendi about teaching is, someone asked him, how shall we find receptive souls? He says it is difficult to find receptive souls in the cities. It is, he agrees, he acknowledges this. But he says, when you pray, please listen carefully. This is not Ali Nakhjavani speaking. I'm quoting, I don't have the exact quotations of Shoghi Effendi because I'm traveling. Shoghi Effendi has answered. He says, it is not enough for you to pray in a general way to be successful in the teaching work. You should, in addition, pray that Baha'u'llah will send you. He uses the word send, S-E-N-D. Baha'u'llah will send you those ready and receptive souls. Every day you have to do this. And believe me, those of you who have had experience, you know, and I'm sure many of you in this room have had this experience. When you meet a ready soul, a receptive soul, it is such a joy to talk to them about the faith. You mention a few words and he says, yes, I know. I've been waiting for the faith. I've been dreaming about it. They accept the faith so easily, so quickly. Why? Because they are searching, they are seeking. Friends, I am 100% sure that as I am talking to you tonight, in the city of Los Angeles, there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of families sitting having their dinner or whatever, coffee or whatever it is. And they're talking with each other. They're wondering, where is the truth? Why has God forsaken humanity? Why do we have so many problems around us and surrounding us? They're waiting. They are servants of God. God loves them just as much as He loves us, believe me. So if He sees that I am ready, my heart is ready, my home is ready, and I've offered my time, He sends these receptive souls to me somehow. I think He has more trust in these receptive souls than He has in us. He doesn't say that if you do this, then you will be led to these receptive souls. He says God will send those receptive souls to you. And this is a promise. It's a promise over the signature of Shoghi Effendi, the sign of God. He will send these people. They are ready. They are His servants, seekers of His truth. They want to become Baha'is. All I have to do is to beg Baha'u'llah to send them to me and to make me ready, inwardly ready. My home, myself, my soul ready to receive these people. When I contact people, to look at their faces to see whether I recognize them. To beg Baha'u'llah to give me that ability to recognize these receptive souls as they come to me. And they will come. So this is what Shoghi Effendi is suggesting. Shoghi, how the House of Justice now, as I already said this, is telling us now this is the stage for entry by troops. Then they have told us that we should have training institutes, we should have study circles, we should have devotional meetings, we should have children's classes, and this all together will be a wonderful thing in the promotion of the cause. Now, the question has often been asked, there are so many things to do at the same time. How can we do all these things? Yeah, I understand, I agree with you. There are so many of them. But the House of Justice has given us a hint as to where to start so that the other processes will automatically follow. I will read you this passage from one of their letters to the entire Baha'i world. The regular holding of Baha'i children's classes should be given high priority. Indeed, in many parts of the world, this is the first activity in the process of community building. I'll tell you a little story that will demonstrate this. In one of the countries in Africa, in South Africa, in Botswana, they had these clusters. They heard about the importance of going to virgin clusters, and cluster D and cluster C and so on. An elderly couple who were residing in Gaborone, the capital, went to the NSA and they said, we know English, little English, we don't know the local language, and we're anxious to go to one of these virgin clusters. You decide where we should go and we will go. And the NSA with the National Teaching Committee and so on, they decided such and such a place would be good, it has a little town and so on. They went, they rented a house, they put an ad in the paper. The ad said vacancy. Now remember, there are no Baha'is. Vacancy. What is the job? The job is 1 month, 30 days, about 8 hours a day. And after that, 3 to 4 hours every week, and the pay will be so much for the first month and the following weeks. And the purpose is children's classes, moral education. That was the ad. They received the application. They interviewed these people. They chose one dear girl, over 20 years old, about 24, 25 years old, who was interested in children's classes. They told her, all right, this is the material. It's in the local language. You study it first. You go around to your own family, then to the extended family, then to the neighborhood people, then to as many people as you can in this little town, and tell them about these classes. Spend about 8 hours, let us say, every day, and come and report to us what you are doing. And your salary is such. She went around, she took this material, and she said, I'm the teacher, this is the address, it is free, look at the material for your children, you think it's useful for your children? On such and such a date, at the end of the month, you bring your children to such an address. That was her job for the month. At the end of the month, the parents came with their children. The classes began. She divided them according to age. This was the beginning. She has become interested in the faith. The parents, many of the parents are deeply interested in the faith. She is now having courses, study circles. They are having devotional meetings. Everything is now beginning to flow out of this children's classes, which shows the wisdom of the House of Justice in giving this advice to national spiritual assemblies worldwide. And believe me, this is the button to push first. The others will come later. Follow. Everything will happen. This is the time. This is the season. If we only dedicate ourselves, believe me, the confirmations will come. You know, there is one misunderstanding, I think, about these study courses. We say, all right, we go to these Ruhi Institute, Ruhi classes, book 1, book 2, and book 3. We think that the purpose is to awaken us in the cause. And when we are deepened in the cause, we say, Alhamdulillah, it's very wonderful. We have attained our goal. This is wrong. Excuse me to say this. It is 20% true only, not 100% true. Of course, one increases one's knowledge and faith, no doubt. But this whole system of classes, study courses, training institutes, and so on, this is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. Please understand this. In other words, the purpose is, this is like a rehearsal for ourselves. We say now that we want to start this process of entry by troops, which is the main aim, the central aim of the 5-year plan, okay? Let us start ourselves. Let us have a rehearsal ourselves to see how this is going to work. And now when we bring the troops in, we know what's going to happen to them. They will go through these courses, and they will be deepened, and then they will be dedicated, and then they will continue teaching, and there will be more teaching, and more study courses, and more devotional reading, and more children's classes, and so on and so forth. It will be a sustainable process. It is not therefore an end in itself. It is like setting up a factory and now making the first run to see how it is for ourselves, to experiment it if you like. And now when the real thing comes is when, as a result of teaching efforts, collectively and individually, then we have more believers. And this idea, this concept of entry by troops, which is something that Baha'u'llah conceived when writing to Nasruddin Shah. And our House of Justice says this is the time, it's a central aim of our plan. Please take this into consideration. I know that we think that we are weak as individuals, we are unworthy, we are incompetent. We may think, what can I do? I'm not a good teacher of the cause. I want you to listen to these words of Shoghi Effendi. First of all, if you feel that way, please continue to feel that way to the end of your life. Don't ever think that you are perfect. You cannot be perfect. You cannot be 100% knowledgeable. Mrs. Maxwell, the mother of Nakhjavani, used to say that the Baha'i faith is like a university. We register, but we never graduate. We continue bit by bit, learning little things about the faith. There's no end to the end of our life, to the last breath. We are learning. It's a learning process. So if you feel that way, please don't change. But please, at the same time, allow these words of Shoghi Effendi to sink in your souls, in your hearts. And let these words, these immortal words of Shoghi Effendi, settle there. If only the friends could realize it. The glory of our faith is not that people with unique abilities do the work of the cause, but that it is done by the sacrifice of loving and devoted souls who arise selflessly. Please note this adverb. Who arise selflessly to undertake work they feel themselves incompetent sometimes to achieve. God works through them and endows them with gifts they did not dream they could ever possess. And again, these few words of Shoghi Effendi, the friends must remember the glorious history of the cause, which both in East and West was established by dedicated souls who, for the most part, were neither rich, famous, nor well educated, but whose devotion, zeal, and self-sacrifice overcame every obstacle and won miraculous victories for the faith of God. I just wanted to tell you something. God is my witness that I most of the time feel that I am like a knife. I look at my blade, I see it is rusted. I look at the handle of this knife, I see it is dirty. Yet I offer myself. Here I am. I hope I will be used by thy holy hand, by thy sacred hand. And I see that he holds, he takes me. The handle is dirty, he takes me. He uses me. Somehow he uses. This is our cause. Violette and I, in our experience, in our travels and so on, we have seen that these words, that God is able to make a drop into an ocean, that this is true. It does happen. We have seen drops becoming oceans. An atom becoming a sun. We have seen that. A gnat, G-N-A-T, a mosquito, becoming an eagle. Ina Bolinga was one of them. He did not have a good life before he became a Baha'i. He was a heavy drinker. Now all that goes with heavy drinking. He came into the cause. He allowed the spirit of the writings to enter his life, his heart. He studied the cause. In those days, he had very few books. He studied everything. He arose selflessly to teach the cause. Gradually, he developed. He became the hand of the cause of God. He was nothing at the beginning. If you had seen him in Kampala, you could find him in the bars of Kampala. That's where he was. God picked him, used him, changed him, transformed him. This is the power of the cause. It's not us. It's the power of the cause. We should trust the power of the cause. I think we're all tired. I want to tell you a secret. I'm tired too. I think we'll call it a day. Now, about the questions, I think Judge Nelson explained, you don't have to write your question. But if you have a burning question, please write it. And the ushers will collect it. And then during the interval of music and so on, we will see what we can do. Thank you very much. This question is about firesides. And the questioner is asking, is the day of firesides now gone? Let bygones be bygones. And now this is the day for study circles. Are these two the same? Do they clash? Should they continue simultaneously? Yes, they should continue simultaneously. One is individual activity, the other is collective activity of the community. So the two go hand in hand. So second question is, what has been the response of religious leaders to the message of the House of Justice? On the national level, we have had three types of responses. One, about maybe 5% of these religious leaders have responded very warmly to the message of the House of Justice. They have said such things as, this is the time and this is the message. They have been deeply impressed by the tone of the message and the content and its content. Then a second group of people, and they are the majority, have been, thank you very much, I will certainly read this message. It's a very good thing that at this time such ideas are being presented. We will consider them. Thank you very much. This has been really the majority of the responses. Then there is a small minority, again between 4 or 5%, well, the response has been negative. And they, with great pride, said, what is this? Who is this universal House of Justice? Why should you give it to me? I know everything about salvation and about the future of the world and everything. I don't need this. This sort of response. And I'm sure that a day will come when these people will oppose the faith. We think, and we are right in thinking, that we are living in a free society, yes. But if you read the writings of the Bahá'í, of Shoghi Effendi, you will see that opposition is coming. It will not come in the form of persecution, obviously, but it will come in the form of opposing the teachings of the faith, attacking the faith because of its administration, attacking the universal House of Justice as the head of the faith. These things are expected. These things will come. There's no question about that. And we should be ready. And they will probably come from the ranks of these very 5% that I told you, 4 or 5%, who have responded negatively. On the local level, all reports have not been received yet. This is on the national level. On the local level, as I'm talking to you, many local assemblies are busy thinking of how to present the message to their local leaders and so on. It has had, on the whole, a galvanizing effect for the community. The next question is, I am a drop. I want to become an ocean. What shall I do? It's a very good question. I wish I knew. I'll tell you something that Mr. Enoch Olinga heard from Shoghi Effendi. Shoghi Effendi told him that every soul has to pass through 3 stages. And you can think of these 3 stages as 3 flights of steps. The first is attraction. The second is conversion. The third is consecration, dedication. Many of us are attracted to the faith. Okay, we were attracted. We accepted the faith, second flight of steps. And we're there. What about the third step? Have we reached our destination? No, we haven't. That third step is consecration. To understand what is meant by dedication and consecration, I will quote for you a tablet from a very short tablet from the pen of Abdul Baha. He says there are 2 types of relationship to the court. One is like the relationship of a plant or a flower to the garden. The other is like the relationship of the ray of the sun to the sun. I hope that your relationship will be of the second kind, the second type. And that's the end of the tablet. Now let us think together. What did Abdul Baha mean by that? What's wrong in being the flower in the garden. We have tablets, we have prayers. Make me a flower in thy garden. Many prayers like that. Abdul Baha did not say it was bad to be a flower in the garden. He says this is a form of relationship. You bring one flower and you bring another flower and you put them together, there will be two flowers. You bring one ray and you bring another ray and they become one ray. You bring 9 flowers and you put them together, they become a beautiful bouquet of flowers. You bring 9 rays and put them together, they will become one strong ray. The local spiritual assembly of, the national spiritual assembly of, one, united. The flowers will be 9 flowers. Beautiful bouquet. His hope for us is to live in such a way that we will become like rays from heaven. The flower says, give me better soil, give me fertilizers, give me more water, give me more rays of the sun. Give me all the time. The ray doesn't say that. The ray is giving all the time, conveying, transmitting the heat of the sun, the light of the sun, the energy of the sun. He wants us to be like the rays, dedicated, lovers of the cause, not only believers in the cause, but lovers of the cause, intoxicated lovers of the cause. That's his first choice for each one of us in this hall. You can be sure about this. I think the greatest prayer, one of the greatest prayers we can offer is, "Oh Lord, enable me to attain those potentialities that Thou hast deposited in me. That I can set aside myself, my ego, and I can put the cause first and make the cause the center of my life." This is dedication. This is consecration. Belief alone, conversion alone is not enough. It is acceptable, certainly, but it's a minimum. He wants us to aim high. He wants us to go to maximum, not be satisfied with minimum. Anyway, let's go on. Yes, this next question, where are we now? Yes, this question is about the endowment fund, on how it's going. It is moving forward, but not at the rate that it would be adequate, believe me, in any way, to become self-sustaining, to cover the expenses of the increase in the acreage of the gardens and the new edifices and buildings that have been erected and the costs involved for their maintenance. Is far, far from reaching that level. So, and I know that your national fund is also very important. I was looking around and I saw the treasurer of the National Spiritual Assembly, members of the National Assembly here. I said to myself, I have to be very careful when I talk about the endowment fund, because the national fund is also very important. You have to find a way to support the national fund and at the same time support the endowment fund. This question is a rather longish thing. It's a question about the catastrophe and whether there will be more sufferings for humanity and so on in the light of the teachings. there is nothing, simply nothing, in the writings of our faith to indicate that the sufferings of humanity have come to an end. There is no such thing. When you read the fifth candle of unity, about unity of nations, Abdul Baha himself defines what he means by unity of nations being the fifth candle. He says that this is when the people of the world will consider the whole earth as one fatherland, one motherland. And the House of Justice has written to us, written to the Baha'i world, that this is indeed the case. The 20th century achieved this objective that Abdul Baha had in mind. Today, believe me, anywhere you go in the world, everybody agrees when the Baha'i says the earth is but one country and mankind are its citizens. Everybody agrees with that. But at the beginning of the century, when Abdul Baha wrote that tablet, it was 1906. It was not the case. People did not consider the whole earth as their homeland. Abdul Baha is saying that in the course of this century, this awareness, this consciousness will come about. And it has come about. He doesn't say that universal peace. He may have said something to some journalist somewhere. It's not in writing. It's not a pilgrim. That is a pilgrim's note. It's not a text. There's nothing in the writings to say that the sufferings of humanity have come to an end. We just have to carry on and be alert and go with the times and see what are the opportunities for us to serve the cause. The last question is, please recount some of your stories of the beloved guardian. I think possibly Violette also could tell stories and so on, but it's late. I'll just tell you just one story. I was on pilgrimage in 1957, and Shoghi Effendi was talking to us. There were only 5 or 6 pilgrims at that time, and we had just come from Bahá'í, and one of the pilgrims was an elderly Baha'i, and he was coughing all the time. And as Shoghi Effendi was walking from the pilgrim house towards the shrine, and we were following him, he looked at this elder, and we had, out of respect, because he was old, we allowed him to be closer to Shoghi Effendi, and we were behind. Shoghi Effendi looked at him. He said, "You are tired." This gentleman said, "Shoghi Effendi, we were tired. Now that we are in your presence, all our fatigue has been taken away from us." I thought it was a nice way of responding. Shoghi Effendi, as he was walking, he stopped. He turned his face, and I looked at that beautiful face, and I saw that he wasn't happy. Why? Because it was in praise of him. His modesty was such. He told this poor fellow, he said, "Why did you say this?" The poor man had no answer. He was fit to be buried right there. He kept quiet. Shoghi Effendi, while standing like this, continued. He said, "Really, what you should have said was that we were tired. Now that we are in the precincts of the shrine of the Baha, all our fatigue has been taken away from us. You did not come here to see me. You came here to visit the shrines and pray in the shrines. The friends should not fix their gaze on individuals. And he put himself with the rest of the individuals. Such was the humility and modesty of our beloved guardian. Yet he was the sign of God. When he walked, you could see that he was different from all of us. With what majesty he walked, what dignity he walked, what a voice he had. Yet he was very simple in his clothes, in his manner, very modest and very humble. I think it's enough for tonight. Allah.